In blackest day, in brightest night, beware your fears meet into light. Let those who try to stop what's right learn like his powers, Sinestro's might. The greatest Green Lantern villain, Sinestro, an alien from the planet Karugar, one of DC Comics' S-tier characters. A character who initially started a one-note villain but turned into a character that can be seen as a hero in certain perspectives, an anti-hero in cases, but always drifts back to a dark side. But how did he get to be this way? How did Thal become Sinestro? In this video I'm going to go in depth on Sinestro, from origins to his rivalry with Hal Jordan, why I personally think he's one of the best villains in comic books, every reason why I personally find him fascinating and love him so much as a character. With that briefing, let me introduce you to the fallen Green Lantern. A citizen turned dictator on the planet Karugar, Sinestro was inducted into the Green Lantern Corps with his mentor being Abin Sur. Abin Sur would eventually become Sinestro's closest friend and even brother-in-law. Sinestro would marry Abin Sur's sister, Erin Sur, eventually having a child by the name of Suranak Natu. These two brothers-in-law would become close in their relationship with each other through the years. Sinestro was known as one of the Corps' most capable members. He lacked fear. He was a standout. There would be a change in Sinestro, though, when Erin Sur was killed. His first experience with fear. Fear is the greatest theme with Sinestro. Always covered in its signature color in the Green Lantern mythos of yellow, fear is one of the many enemies of the Green Lantern Corps. This event always stuck with Sinestro, but it's not a sole motivation, but it brought Abin Sur closer to Sinestro through their brotherly bond. In Sinestro's story, Abin is the anchor. Sinestro never questioned the Green Lantern way of protection. He obeyed the Guardians always. Where things change is when the anchor dies. The mentor is murdered. What happens is Atrocitus, a cult leader on Yzmal, is transferred by Abin Sur to prison. During that transportation, Abin Sur is relying on a ship rather than his ring because he begins to fear the reality of a prophecy that Atrocitus speaks of. This prophecy being the Blackest night. Abin brushes off Atrocitus, but he knows it's a true prophecy, and that's why he's scared of its word. Atrocitus would break out of the ship and make Abin Sur crash, leading to Abin to ask the ring to find a new ring bearer. This ring would eventually find Hal Jordan. When Sinestro finds out about this, he is in pure disgust finding Abin's ring now inherited by a human, one of the least intelligent species in the galaxy. He hates Hal Jordan for his brash, impulsive nature. This person is unworthy of his mentor's ring. His brother's ring. This is how Sinestro thinks of Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan would be trained on Oa by Kilowog. After his training, Hal Jordan returns to Earth, and in that time, Sinestro is traveling to Earth to investigate Abin's death. He's forced to work with Hal to find his mentor's killer, Atrocitus. They eventually find Atrocitus, attempting to kill a young William Hand, who eventually would become the Black Hand, one of the leaders of the Black. Hal and Sinestro incarcerate Atrocitus for his crime of killing Abin Sur. Sinestro berates Hal Jordan for focusing on Carol Ferris in the middle of their incarceration. After they've finished with Atrocitus, Hal leaves to meet Carol Ferris. Sinestro eventually comes to find Hal Jordan again looking at a construct of his father, Martin Jordan. Sinestro understands Hal's loss as he feels it now too. At first, Sinestro was unfair to Hal Jordan, but they have a common ground he realizes in their loss. The first seed of their friendship. They are called to O, where they're interrogated by the Guardians for being in each other's sectors, as it is against the code of the Guardians. Sinestro explains the investigation of the death of Abin Sur, where the Guardians hear this, but they still disapprove of the actions taken. Hal questions why they disapprove, and that leads to the Guardians considering taking Hal's ring. But Sinestro defends Hal as a good recruit, the second seed of their friendship. The Guardians preach about how they know better to Sinestro and Hal. Hal thinks the Guardians are afraid of him and Sinestro. The Guardians really consider taking his ring now. Sinestro says that if they are to take Hal's ring, they have to take his too. The Guardians consider Sinestro's word and allow Hal to stay, but he's to be looked after by Sinestro from now on. He is Sinestro's responsibility. Through the months, Hal would improve and Sinestro's relationship would improve with Hal, becoming very close in time. Where the story of Sinestro becomes a tragedy is in this chapter, the discovery of the truth Atrocitus speaks of. The death of a sector, Sector 666, the Manhunters, other corps that exist but have been hidden by the Guardians. Lie is revealed. Now comes the fall of Sinestro. Sinestro finds the power of the yellow light, the first step in a line of many towards its fall. Where things heat up is when Hal Jordan discovers how Karugar is run under Sinestro. He's a dictator who operates on fear. His people fear him. Hal eventually snitches on Sinestro. Sinestro is banished from the Corps. Hal Jordan betrayed Sinestro, his friend, for the betterment of the universe, but fractured his friendship. Sinestro sent to the antimatter universe will create the Sinestro Corps. After he's sent to the antimatter universe, he has Thunderers create rings for him. Sinestro has a plan to ratify the universe in his vision. In the Antimatter universe, he finds the Anti-Monitor, who he teams up with as an ambassador of the Sinestro Corps. The ultimate plan of Sinestro is to create his own Corps, and show the Guardians how a Corps should be, and correct the corruption of the Guardians. Sinestro sees the deceit of the Guardians, and will perfect his vision. But he doesn't see his own impurity. This is a war with the Guardians, but also with Hal Jordan, who is his enemy. Hal Jordan betrayed him, and Sinestro will repay the favor to his old friend. Sinestro inducts many more members to his Corps, the likes of Superboy Prime and Cyborg Superman as well. The Corps is formed now with all its members. It's time to execute the plan. How the war starts is with Kyle Rayner, who is Ion at the time. Don't worry about who Ion is, it isn't important right now. Just know it's Kyle Rayner. He's transported to the Antimatter universe by a yellow ring, where he sees a meeting for the newly formed Sinestro Corps. His instinct is to tell the Green Lantern Corps, but he's sighted by the Sinestro Corps and attack. The Sinestro Corps begins its assault on Mogo, a sentient planet that has a Green Lantern ring. Why they attack Mogo is because Mogo guides rings to recruit new lanterns after their predecessor passes. So if you attack Mogo, you eliminate new Green Lanterns from rising. The Green Lanterns are at a disadvantage, not being able to kill like the Sinestro Corps. In the desperate hour, the Guardians disable the no-kill function on the rings. Hal Jordan, John Stewart, Guy Gardner retreat to Earth. The Sinestro Corps followed them home. The two armies are now at an even playing. This is Sinestro's war. The battle ends in New York, where the armies collide with the Antimatter on the field. Now the battle is no longer between green and yellow. It is Earth versus Sinestro Corps, with even the Justice League and many more joining to help. The greatest plan of Sinestro is thwarted. Sinestro is locked up on Oa. Sinestro may have lost the Sinestro Corps war, but in a way he won. He exposed the secret of many more powers of the emotional spectrum. The secrets are revealed now, and at that he made the Guardians enable lethal force. Hal visits Sinestro, where they talk about the old days, back when they worked together to apprehend Atrocitus. Sinestro states that the only people he ever considered friends were Abin Sur and Hal. Hal breaks the news to Sinestro that he's not here to catch up, but to tell him that he's not in prison anymore. He's on death row by order of the Guardians. Now, after this happens, the real signs of the Blackest Night come, beginning with the Red Lantern Corps exposing itself with Atrocitus as its head, the cult leader who killed Sinestro's mentor Abin Sur. Atrocitus and his Corps kidnap Sinestro and intend to crucify him. Atrocitus seeks revenge on Sinestro for imprisoning him. Atrocitus threatens to kill Sinestro's daughter, Suranek Natu. Eventually, Hal Jordan comes to Yzma, and his ring wants him to kill Sinestro, but he hesitates, because after all, he still remembers Sinestro as a friend. But with this, Hal Jordan is imprisoned with Sinestro. The Sinestro Corps arrive to save Sinestro, fighting the Red Lantern Corps, but at that, the newly formed Blue Lanterns are as well. It is a battle between red, blue, and yellow, a first glimpse into the Blackest Night, the War of Light. Sinestro kills a previous Green Lantern who had been corrupted by a Red Lantern ring, and Hal begins another battle with Sinestro. Hal's rage is strong. So strong he is given a red ring. Words that Sinestro state echo in Hal Jordan's mind. Another broken promise. Hal had promised to help Lara, but now she's dead because of Sinestro. Hal is about to kill Sinestro when Saint Walker forces the blue ring on Hal's finger. Hal has a split suit now composed of multiple colors, split between green and blue. Sinestro almost made Hal break here. He made Hal vulnerable to the red ring. Now the prophecy has come. The dead shall rise. The universe is thrust into the War of Light, where the universe has come together in order to rid the universe of zombies in a race against life itself. Sinestro's part here is interesting, where we get the revival of Abin Sur and Erwin Sur through the Black Ring. It's a great moment in the book where we have to see how Jordan and Sinestro deal with the revival of these two, as well as trying to stop the war going on, working together again to save the universe. Sinestro at the end of the story becomes the first person to bear the power of the white light, the answer to destroying the dead, the power of life, as death reanimates the dead as zombies. The white light brings the dead back to normal. It brings back all those who were killed in the Blackest Night, defeating the leader of the Black, Nekron. The White Lantern disappears after Nekron is defeated and is teleported somewhere else, which leads to... What you need to know about Brightest Day is that it's a story that has all of the leaders of the different corps trying to find the white power battery. Sinestro, Carol Ferris, Hal Jordan find it, in which Sinestro tries to take it for himself. Of course. The power battery tells them that they need to find the entities of the color spectrum, then disappears again. It ends up in the hands of Boston Brand, who is Dead Man. The parts we have of Sinestro here are fun. There's a fight between him and Lobo, and he teams up with Atrocitus too, which is fun. Once the entities are collected, they're taken by Krona, an ex-Guardian who was outcasted for creating the Anti-Monitor inadvertently, and embracing the emotional spectrum. Overall, just being mad all around. He takes the entities for himself. Where we follow up with the storyline is in War of the Green Lanterns. All the leaders of each corps come to Ryut, home of the Black Lanterns, in Blackest Night. They have come to see the Book of the Black. It tells all about the Black Lantern Corps, but also of the Blackest Night.
But they haven't come for that. They have come because it too has the history of the universe as well. They're all here to figure out how to defeat Krona. Sinestro seizes the opportunity to expose more secrets about the Guardians through the Book of the Black. But as per usual, they're attacked again. Hal Jordan and Sinestro team up using the rings to create an explosion of light to get free of the Book of the Black. Krona takes over Oa, attempting a coup on the core for control once again. Sinestro, still trapped in the book, sees the past. Krona burns the pages of the book, killing him. Later on during the battle, Hal Jordan has Kyle Rayner draw the leaders of each core in the Book of the Black. This is a very comic book moment, but it fits the character of Kyle Rayner, who is an artist, so I think it's a fun character usage. But they do this so they can be brought out while they defeat Krona. When the leaders are out of the book again, Sinestro goes to kill Krona and says that he and Hal are willing to die for the Green Lantern Corps. Suddenly, a Green Lantern ring chooses Sinestro once again. Hal Jordan and Sinestro kill Krona. Hal asks Sinestro to take off the ring before he causes problems after Krona is dead. The Guardians stop Hal from talking. They proceed to kick him from the Green Lantern Corps for how unstable he is. They hated the idea of working with the different corps using the emotional spectrum. It was dangerous. Sinestro is back as Green Lantern while Hal Jordan is ripped from his ring. It's a what the hell is going on turn for the Green Lantern book. It makes you want to rip open the next chapter of the story. The thing is, the new chapter is in a whole different continuity from the previous stories I've told you about from this point on. They continue in the New 52, which was DC's continuity reboot after Flashpoint, but oddly enough, Green Lantern was one of the only few titles to not really be rebooted by the new continuity, because of how well the book was doing at the time as one of DC's bestsellers. With that being said, this is one of the more interesting times in the Green Lantern book. We get a look at Hal Jordan at his lowest. He's unable to even get a car due to him being jobless. Meanwhile, Sinestro is a Green Lantern again, but he doesn't even want to be. The Guardians think this is a chance for redemption for Sinestro. Sinestro does not want this ring again. He essentially spits in the Guardians' face. He states, "Do you really expect me to follow you again?" But the Guardians say that they do not, but they only ask him to protect the sector, as all Lanterns do. Ganthet calls out the other Guardians for bringing Sinestro back, and they banish him. Sinestro goes back to Karugar, only to find his people enslaved by his Corps. His Corps think that he's gone soft and betrayed them. They try to kill him, but he executes them. Hal Jordan has an eviction notice on his apartment. He's really struggling. Sinestro goes to Earth to find Hal Jordan desperate. He offers him a chance to get his ring back. Hal threatens to rip off Sinestro's finger himself. Sinestro blasts him. When he's able to capture Hal, he makes him a ring constructed from his own will to give to Hal. He tells Hal not to throw away his chance this time. There's a problem with this ring though. It doesn't function as an actual ring and is very much restricted from what Hal is used to. It can't fly, but Sinestro did this on purpose. He doesn't want Hal at full power around him. The ring is unable to attack Sinestro as well. Hal goes to save a bridge full of people, but Sinestro stops him. It looks like he's going to kill the people, but Sinestro fixes the bridge, schooling Hal on how to use his ring. The Sinestro Corps finds Sinestro again and attack, but Sinestro has backup with Hal. Sinestro finally tells Hal what he wants with him. He's going to help Sinestro rid Karugar of his Corps' enslavement. Hal punches Sinestro and he laughs, telling Hal he knows he's better than him. He tells him to stop fooling around. While they're in space, Sinestro asks Hal if he's ever took the ring seriously, and Hal says, too often. Sinestro coyly disagrees, saying, I'd say not often enough. Sinestro tells Hal the way to shut down the power battery for the Sinestro Corps is through a green power battery. Hal asks if this was the plan to go green again. Sinestro yells at him, telling him this was not his plan, but he does want his people free. When they're on Karugar, they're captured by the Sinestro Corps. Sinestro is tortured in specific. They want him not stable enough to create a construct. Eventually, they throw him into a cell after they're unable to remove his ring. This cell contains people of Karugar. They step away from Sinestro out of fear, and he asks why they're afraid. An officer explains that they're afraid of Sinestro. She defended him when no one else would. She fought against rebels of Sinestro. Sinestro tells the officer, you were right to support me. She said that she was wrong. They all join in telling Sinestro that he's only brought death, pain, and misery to Karugar. Sinestro has begun to see the error of his ways. He apologizes. For the first time, Sinestro apologizes for what he's done. Hal gives Sinestro the idea to give construct rings to all the people of Karugar. He's hesitant to make that many constructs, but ends up doing it, helping his people. In the bat of an eye, they all turn on him, attempting to use the rings against him. But as before, with Hal, they are unable to. The officer attempts to blast a construct at Sinestro, but it fails. Sinestro summons his power battery. He frees everyone, and now they have their revenge on the Sinestro Corps. Sinestro disables the main power battery. He promises to remove the monsters of the Sinestro Corps from Karugar. While in space, Hal and Sinestro have another conversation where Sinestro talks about how the Guardians are insidious. He's only ever wanted the eradication of violence, greed, and chaos. Hal calls him out and only says he wants control. I don't, Sinestro says. Sinestro brings the yellow power battery to Oa. The Guardians are happy with the result that Sinestro being back has yielded. With the defeat of the Sinestro Corps, Sinestro goes to hunt down the Keeper of the Book of the Black, only for her to show him a vision of the Guardians' new plot of a third army. With that, Sinestro once again returns to Earth again to ask for Hal's help. Hal is reluctant again, but Sinestro threatens Carol Ferris. Hal scuffles with Sinestro over this, but Sinestro tells him about the Book of the Black, the new prophecy within it. The Indigo tribe show up, the holders of the Indigo Light, those who helped during the Blackest night. With that, they now hold Black Hand. The Indigo tribe seeks Sinestro. They seek to give Sinestro compassion. Once more, Sinestro and Hal Jordan are locked up, but this time by the Indigo tribe, where they see Black Hand now under the custody of the Indigo tribe. While they're here, they learn about the history of the Indigo tribe with Abin Sur and the founding of the Corps. They make Sinestro see the death of Aaron Sur again to redeem him. He apologizes to Hal Jordan. He tells Sinestro he's just being brainwashed. Hal escapes to find an old follower of Abin Sur who tells Hal about the final prophecy. 2 cores would end from an evil within. He states it's the Guardians of the Universe. He destroys the main Indigo power battery, freeing Sinestro from mind control. Sinestro and Hal end up beating all the prisoners of the Indigo tribe, but Black Hand escapes. Hal and Sinestro read the Book of the Black to learn the new prophecy. They end up teleported to Black Hand. With that, another battle occurs, and the Guardians go to the Chamber of Shadows to retrieve the first lantern. The Chamber of Shadows houses all the Guardian species. They break up the fight Hal Jordan and Sinestro have with Black Hand. The Guardians use Black Hand to send Sinestro and Hal into the Black Ring, killing them both. As a desperate measure to save themselves, they send out Sinestro's ring to find someone to help them. Then the Third Army rides with the power retrieved with the first lantern, another plot of the Guardians. This is where we get the introduction of Simon Baz. I'll keep his story brief just because I'm already skipping around a lot to keep this video slim. He's the candidate Sinestro's ring chooses to help Sinestro and Hal Jordan. A lot of this volume is dedicated to establishing his character. Where we catch up with Hal Jordan and Sinestro is in the Black. They are greeted by Tomar Ray, who is in the Black. He tells them that they must stop Volthoom before he unravels reality. Volthoom is the first lantern. When Krona had seen the beginning of reality upon its explosion, a space traveler by the name of Volthoom came with it. He showed the Guardians the emotional spectrum. With that discovery, the Guardians did as they usually do and decided to bury the secrets for eons. Now with them abusing Volthoom's power, he's growing angry, and with that he turns the Third Army to his side and imprisons the Guardians. He shows light mercy to Ganthet, for he's the only one that has shown mercy. Volthoom digs through the mind of Ganthet, uncovering memories of when he warned the other Guardians about Sinestro and his fall. Volthoom has a great amount of interest looking at Sinestro's life from Ganthet's mind. He reaches further to when the Guardians abandon emotion. He changes this event, which starts a ripple through reality, with Simon briefly turning into Abin Sur in front of Black Hand. But he struggles to fully rewrite the moment, unable to from how much power the Guardians have taken from him. He digs in Ganthet's mind to see who has enough power to refuel him. Finding out about the different core bearers, it'll give him the power to reset the universe from the Guardians' mistakes. During this, Black Hand sends Simon Baz into the Black, meeting with Hal and Sinestro. Sinestro berates Hal for wasting his ring, only for the recruit to fall to Black Hand. Sinestro tries to get his ring back from Simon, but he attacks him, killing him. But in the Black, you cannot die if you have the will to live. Sinestro survived. Tomar Ray talks about how the word of Volthoom is spreading. Sinestro asks why he acts like he's supposed to mean something to them. He tells Sinestro and Hal the history of Volthoom, how he was the first to bear the emotional spectrum bathing in its light, how the Manhunters were created to stop him. Volthoom is the very light of the Big Bang. Simon offers to give up the ring, but Hal stops him from doing so. Soon after, Bidge, a squirrel Green Lantern, helps bring Simon Baz from the ring. With that, Simon's ring duplicates where it goes for Hal and Sinestro, and they fight over who gets to take the ring back. Sinestro says it's not a battle of strength, it's a battle of will. Hal says he'll win if it comes to courage. Sinestro makes the ring show Carol Ferris, and with that ounce of fear in Hal, Sinestro takes back his ring, entering the universe once again. Sinestro's mind is set on Volthoom. In the Black, Black Hand is sent back in. Hal tries to take Black Hand's ring, but is hurt by it. It's because he's partially alive. Hal has to make a decision to live or die if he wants to get out. Hal decides to take his life to save the universe. On Kurugar, Sinestro tells the army to prepare for a war. But Volthoom has arrived and he desires Sinestro. He has a very heavy interest in Sinestro's history, the turmoil with it, the back and forth of him. He threatens Arizona, the general from Volume 1, pissing Sinestro off. He's officially at war with Volthoom. Volthoom destroys Kurugar, using its energy to satisfy himself. With Kurugar gone, Sinestro has no reason but to avenge his people. He turned to his power again. The yellow light, returning to his ways so he can kill Volthoom. Yellow Lantern Sinestro is back, and at the same time, Hal Jordan rises from the dead. Volthoom has taken Oa, now having access to both green and yellow central power batteries. Volthoom wants the Guardians to feel everything they have done, returning their emotions as he destroys reality. Hal Jordan, using his black ring, calls up all the main core heads again. They use each light to battle Volthoom, but it doesn't work. Sinestro returns about to kill Volthoom. The Indigo Tribe stops him. The Indigo Tribe stops him with the return of the Black Lanterns led by Hal Jordan. Sinestro questions what Hal's done to himself, and Hal brings up what happened to Kurugar, being why he can't do it alone, and Sinestro attacks him. Volthoom takes a new interest in the life of Hal Jordan, all the different things he's bared and tragedy in him. It takes advantage of the death of Hal's father. It gives him the power to remake the universe. Sinestro quickly goes to the yellow power battery to free Parallax, and he takes it into his control. He takes Volthoom by the throat, telling him he is not the master of the emotional spectrum. Those who are heartless never understand its power. Volthoom says he's a god. Hal Jordan goes back into the black to set Necron free. It's the best he's got. Hal Jordan and Sinestro expel the emotional spectrum from Volthoom, and with that a green ring chooses Hal Jordan again. But without a moment lost, Sinestro reinstates his core. With Volthoom gone, he's capitalizing on the opportunity to kill the Guardians. Hal Jordan versus Sinestro starts up again, but this time, Sinestro is determined to kill the Guardians, in grief, the loss of Kurugar. Sinestro reveals he already killed them moments ago though. It has come to an end. Sinestro has completed his goal. Hal Jordan says he can't let Sinestro go.
Before I release Parallax, I will use his power to take me far away from here. I will leave you forever. But before I do, you were going to ask me a question. Long ago, when we were trapped on Yzma, and we'd believed we were going to die. But you never did. What was it? Were we ever truly friends? That's the tragedy of all this, Jordan. How? We'll always be friends.
Sinestro vanished, accomplishing his mission. This is the tale of Sinestro. Sinestro's tale is a long battle of order and chaos. A fall and rise to fall again. A hero and villain to hero again to villain again. Someone who is a lot of times right but just takes things too far. Someone who started out having a petty hatred of Hal Jordan because he replaced his brother, to being able to overcome that hatred and respect the replacement by actually becoming friends. But it all came down when the trust was betrayed by Hal Jordan, his snitching on Sinestro's dictatorship. Hal Jordan is the villain in Sinestro's story just as much as Sinestro is to Hal Jordan. These characters are directly opposed, but also similar in their renegade nature. In their falls, caused by the fall of ones they love. Both characters drenched in tragedy. They are united, but also divided. The ring was never what made Sinestro evil, it was himself. His need for order, that nature of being a control freak. The moment Sinestro became who he is when Abin died. It was the first major pin to fall. But with that, the Blackest Night prophecy, the revelations of the incompetence by the Guardians. All these events made Sinestro's story a tale of tragedy, loss, rebellion, redemption, truth, and order. There's only 3 major Sinestro adaptations you can look at. The 2011 film version, Green Lantern First Flight, and his one appearance in Green Lantern the Animated Series. I'll start with the film version of Sinestro. While almost everything about the film is bad, Mark Strong as Sinestro is actually one of the few characters they didn't miss with. He's established as a high authority figure in the Green Lantern Corps. The light comparisons to Abin with Hal are also nice to see, but for the Green Lantern Sinestro, his role in the story serves its purpose, and he's played very well by Mark Strong. This is a Sinestro who hasn't fallen yet, but is soon to fall if he ever got a continuation. They set up a great Sinestro. Unfortunately, they fumbled the bag in the first movie, so it put Green Lantern in Hollywood prison. If we ever got a sequel, I think in theory we could have gotten a great movie, but that goes for any movie. Similar to that of Sinestro from the live-action film, he's established as a Green Lantern of high authority. Unlike the live-action film, this version is about the fall. Sinestro at first takes Hal under his wing to train him willingly. This Sinestro admires humanity's knack for rebellion. He says it's well-founded, which is a peculiar detail here, but we do hear him talk about how the Guardians have gone soft, which this early in the story usually isn't how it's done, but it's just a light change of pace. The two go after Kitch, who killed Abin Sur in this continuity, unlike the comics where it's atrocious. Sinestro quickly shows off his brutality to the bouncer in front of Hal, while looking for Kitch. He demonstrates more brutality during his interaction with Labella, to the point Hal stops Sinestro. Sinestro later berates Hal for this act. He explains his aggravation towards the Guardians sending Lanterns out to do petty jobs.
Look at the universe the Guardians have created. We have the greatest power in the cosmos, and what have they made us? Garbage collectors. We pick up the trash.
It's obvious Sinestro is tired of the Guardians, but unlike in the comic versions, it's not revelations that put him on the path, but rather aggravation of the Guardians and weakness they show, which are fine motives, but not as interesting to me personally, but are still in character for Sinestro. A third occurrence in the film of Sinestro's turn is the murder of Kandra Ro, where he's willing to betray him in order to get the yellow element for himself. A weird thing here is Sinestro is able to reanimate him with his ring, which is something the rings usually aren't able to do. The ability is often reserved for the Black Rings, but in 2008 the Black Lanterns weren't even a thing, so. Other details that changed is that Cord is not in the antimatter universe in this continuity, so no anti-monitor. Also a lack of parallax in in this version too. For a one-shot film, I'm fine with them being excluded. A problem with the story is it just feels very fast for Sinestro's turn. You never get that slow burn feel I like out of Sinestro's fall. It's all in the span of an hour. You don't get that really big betrayal from Hal. Because of how condensed the story is for Sinestro's turn, that has always been a major issue with this movie for me, is its length and the speed in which Sinestro turns in comparison to the runtime, while also walking a tightrope of telling Hal's Jordan story. Overall, this is an okay version of Sinestro, just not personally my favorite. It's not a betrayal of the character, just missing some layers I like for the character that make him feel a lot more two-dimensional than what I'm used to. In Green Lantern the Animated Series, Sinestro only gets one episode dedicated to him while he is the Green Lantern. He sends a distress signal to the Interceptor and Hal is immediately talking up Sinestro's status. It immediately feels authentic and you can feel the history and how they talk. This show always wrote every character at their best. Everyone working on the show loved the material from the Green Lantern titles. It is a damn shame we never got another season. But anyway, what Sinestro has done is kidnapped a prisoner from the Spider Guild prison, Neuroxis. When on board the ship, he tells the Interceptor crew that he's not exactly sure what his deal is, but he's bringing him to Oa for the Guardians. But he tells the crew that he's tired from the breakout, so he ends up leaving. The crew go back to manning the ship, and suddenly Sinestro whips out a blaster shooting the crew. Immediately, the crew take out Sinestro. Not sure what happened, they resort to taking his ring off because they know he's dangerous. When he wakes up, he's confused why he's been captured. Sinestro calls them mad, but he still can't remember what happened. Shortly after, Razor, another one of the crew on the Interceptor, begins to act strange. Taking the blaster from Aya that Sinestro was using, he says Hal said to grab it. Sinestro finds a way out of the cell immediately, going to Aya, telling him everyone is acting strange. He retrieves his ring. He explains how Neuroxis is a body hopper and takes over the mind of sentient beings. It explains why everyone is acting strange. We cut to Razor, Kilowog, and Hal who are fighting each other. They quickly figure out what's going on with the body swapping. They realize you can't use the ring if you're under mind control. Kilowog refuses. They suspect he's under mind control. Sinestro comes to them and explains that Neuroxis is an assassin. That's why the Guardians want him. He made the Spider Guild blow up their base and took over his mind. His answer is to take away oxygen from the ship so he can't mind swap. The person who can't get their body shield up is the one possessed, so that's what happens. The oxygen is cut from the ship and the alien is revealed to be within Razor. The alien has to choose whether to die or return to his cell for oxygen. Neuroxis leaves Razor's body to return to his own. But something Sinestro didn't say was, earlier when he broke out, he left the vent open on purpose. So when he did this, it'd leave no oxygen. Sinestro plays coy when Hal finds out, saying, I must have damaged the grate when I broke out.
What happened?
I must have damaged the venting system when I escaped. Criminal's body suffocated before his mind returned.
Oh, the Green Lantern Code.
I didn't kill him, Jordan. I simply didn't save him in time. A tragic accident.
This is a great way to show the coldness of Sinestro with prisoners while still being in the core. It showed that little ounce of corruption within him without going completely evil. In the span of a 20-minute episode, they managed to touch on Hal's history with Sinestro and his sense of order, and at that they play with your expectation of knowing Sinestro, so you expect him to turn bad, but they throw you for a loop for a great twist. This is a great episode and a great series. Bottle episodes tend to be best for character development, and that's no different here. If you haven't, please go watch Green Lantern the Animated Series. It touches on so many branches of the Green Lantern lore in just one season, while never dipping in quality. It's my favorite show of all time, personally. Media I recommend for Sinestro to get to know him better is definitely, as a start, Green Lantern's Secret Origin. It sets up the whole world of Green Lantern nicely. Next, I would recommend Green Lantern Sinestro Corps War, Rage of the Red Lanterns, Blackest Night, Brightest Day, all three of the first volumes of New 52 Green Lantern. These are essentials for Sinestro. Now, if you want to read the whole run and story for the maximum experience of Green Lantern, you start with Emerald Twilight, a couple issues of Kyle Rayner Green Lantern, then Green Lantern Rebirth, Green Lantern Sinestro Corps War, Green Lantern Secret Origin, Rage of the Red Lanterns, Green Lantern Agent Orange, Blackest Night, Brightest Day, War of the Green Lanterns, New 52 Green Lantern 1 through 3, and that's the story you'll need to read if you want to read the whole Green Lantern story. Side things to look at are, of course, Green Lantern the Animated Series Season 1, Episode 18, Prisoner of Sinestro. This is my personal pick for an adaptation of Sinestro, and at that, it's a brisk 20-minute introduction. Other than that, I can't really completely recommend the First Flight or 2011 film Sinestros, so Green Lantern the Animated Series is the go-to for my limited options. So in summary, I love Sinestro for a lot of reasons. To me, he is very high on the hierarchy of DC villains. To me, my favorite DC villains are Lex Luthor, Bane, and Sinestro. To me, these are the quintessential villains to each of my three favorite DC characters, while being just as good themselves. I will always love Sinestro, and I can't wait to read more with him, but to me, the story is complete. In the books, he had his resolution, but I'm going to be reading further into New 52 still. Who knows, down the line, I might make a part 2 video if there's significant development in my love for him even further. But as of now, this character is one of my favorite characters in fiction. With that being said, I have said my piece. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and goodbye.
It's an affront to him! Shut your mouth, you stupid little troll!